ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನರ್ತಕಿ, ಸಂಯೋಜಕಿ, ಸಂಘಟಕಿ, ಗುರು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ವೀಣಾ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಆಶ್ರಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾದರಪಡಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ 2020-21 ಸಾಲಿನ ಲಯ ಲಾಸ್ಯ ಲಹರಿ ಉತ್ಸವ. ಈ ಸಾಲಿನ ಉತ್ಸವ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಜಾಲತಾಣದ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಕಲಾ ರಸಿಕರ ಮನೆ ಮನಗಳನ್ನು ತಲುಪುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ನೃತ್ಯ, ಸಂಗೀತ ಮತ್ತು ಇತರ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಕಲಾ ಪ್ರಕಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಅವುಗಳ ಸಾಂಪ್ರದಾಯಿಕ, ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕ ಮೂಲ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಿಕೊಂಡೇ ಅವುಗಳ ಪ್ರಚಾರ, ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆಗಾಗಿ ಮುಡಿಪಾಗಿರುವ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ವೀಣಾ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿಯವರಿಂದ ಸ್ಥಾಪಿಸಲ್ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು, ಭಾರತೀಯ ಕಲೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಗಳ ತತ್ವದರ್ಶನದ ತೇಜಸ್ಸನ್ನು ತನ್ನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಸಮಗ್ರ ವಿಕಸನಕ್ಕೆ ಬಳಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದೆ. 500ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದದಲ್ಲಿ ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಸಂಗೀತ, ಮೃದಂಗ, ಚಿತ್ರಕಲೆ ಮತ್ತು ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತರಬೇತಿ ಪಡೆಯುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ನೆಲೆಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ನೃತ್ಯವನ್ನು ಸಮೀಕರಿಸುವ ಹಲವು ಮೌಲಿಕ ಉತ್ಸವಗಳನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಈ ಸಾಲಿನ ತನ್ನ ಲಯ ಲಾಸ್ಯ ಲಹರಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು ಒಳಗೊಂಡು ವಿನ್ಯಾಸಗೊಳಿಸಿದೆ. ವರ್ಣ ಹಲವು ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾಪವಾಗಿರುವಂತೆ ವರ್ಣ ಹ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಾಸ್ ಇದು ಈ ವರ್ಷದ ವಿಷಯ. ವರ್ಣ ಈ ಪದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಲವು ಆಯಾಮಗಳಿವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ವ್ಯಾಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಣ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಕ್ಷರ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಧರ್ಮಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಣಗಳ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾಪವಿದೆ. ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಸಂಗೀತದಲ್ಲಿ, ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ನೃತ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಣಗಳು ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಮಾರ್ಗದ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಕೃತಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಮನ್ನಣೆ ಪಡೆದಿವೆ. ಈ ಸಾಲಿನ ಉತ್ಸವದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾಪವಾಗುವ ವರ್ಣ ಶಬ್ದದ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆ, ಅರ್ಥ, ವಿಸ್ತಾರ, ಹೋಲಿಕೆ, ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತತೆ ಇವುಗಳ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸರುಗಳು ಮೌಲಿಕ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಮಂಡಿಸಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಮೂಲಕ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ವರ್ಣ ಹಲವು ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಬೆಳಕು ಚೆಲ್ಲುತ್ತದೆ. ಈ ವಿಶೇಷ ವಿನ್ಯಾಸದ ಉತ್ಸವವನ್ನು ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿರುವ ಗುರು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ವೀಣಾ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪರಿಚಯ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಅವಗಾಹನೆಗೆ. ವೀಣಾ ಚಿಕ್ಕನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿ ಸಂಗೀತ, ನೃತ್ಯ, ರಂಗಭೂಮಿ ಮುಂತಾದ ಕಲಾ ಪ್ರಕಾರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬದ್ಧತೆಯಿಂದ ತೊಡಗಿಕೊಂಡಿರುವ ಕಲಾವಿದೆ. ಚೆನ್ನೈ ಕಲಾಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತರಬೇತಿ ಪಡೆದಿದ್ದು, ಆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತಗಳನ್ನು ತಮ್ಮ ನೃತ್ಯ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳವಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನರ್ತಕಿಯಾಗಿ, ನೃತ್ಯ ಗುರುವಾಗಿ, ನೃತ್ಯ ಸಂಯೋಜಕಿಯಾಗಿ ಜನಮನ್ನಣೆ ಪಡೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸ್ತರದ ಹಲವು ನೃತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾವಪೂರ್ಣ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನಗಳನ್ನು ನೀಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿದೇಶಗಳ ಹಲವು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಗಳು ತಮ್ಮ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣಗಳ ಭಾಗವಾಗಲು ವೀಣಾ ಅವರನ್ನು ಆಹ್ವಾನಿಸಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ವೀಣಾ ಹಲವು ಸ್ತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕಾರ್ಯಾಗಾರಗಳನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಕೂಡ. ದೂರದರ್ಶನದ ಎ ಶ್ರೇಣಿ ಕಲಾವಿದೆಯಾಗಿ, ICCRನ ಎಂಪ್ಯಾನಲಿಂಗ್ ಕಲಾವಿದೆಯಾಗಿ ಮಾನ್ಯತೆ ಪಡೆದಿರುವ ವೀಣಾ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿ ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಪದವಿಯ ಸಾಧಕಿ ಕೂಡ. ನೃತ್ಯ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದ ತಮ್ಮ ಅನನ್ಯ ಸೇವೆಗಾಗಿ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ವೀಣಾ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿ ಹಲವು ಗೌರವ ಪುರಸ್ಕಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಕೈಲಾಸಾಶ್ರಮ ಮಹಾಸಂಸ್ಥಾನ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ನ ಲಾಸ್ಯ ತಾಂಡವ ಶಿವಕಲಾ ಶಿರೋಮಣಿ, ಒರಿಸ್ಸಾ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ವಾರ್ತಾ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಸಾರ ಇಲಾಖೆಯಿಂದ ನೃತ್ಯಶ್ರೀ, ಚೈನಾ ದೇಶದ ಸಾಧನಾ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಯೋಗ ಮತ್ತು ಆರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಫೆಸ್ಟಿವಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಟ್ಯ ಮಯೂರಿ ಮುಂತಾದ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾಪಿಸಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕ ಸತ್ವವನ್ನು ಮೂಲವಾಗಿರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ವೀಣಾ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿ ಸಿದ್ಧಾರ್ಥ ಟು ಲಾರ್ಡ್ ಬುದ್ಧ, ಕಾವೇರಿ ಪಯಣ, ಶಂಕರಂ ಜಗದ್ಗುರುಂ ಮತ್ತು ತಿರುಚಿ ಮಹಾಸ್ವಾಮಿ ದಿವ್ಯ ಜೀವನ ವೈಭವಂ ಮುಂತಾದ ನೃತ್ಯ ರೂಪಕಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದದ ಲಯ ಲಾಸ್ಯ ಲಹರಿ ಉತ್ಸವದ ಇಂದಿನ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿರಿಯ ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯ ವಿದುಷಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪದ್ಮಜಾ ಸುರೇಶ್ ವರ್ಣ ಇನ್ ನೃತ್ಯ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವಿ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಮಂಡಿಸಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನರ್ತಕಿಯಾಗಿ, ಗುರುವಾಗಿ, ಸಂಶೋಧಕಿಯಾಗಿ ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಕ್ರಿಯರಾಗಿರುವ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪದ್ಮಜಾ ಸುರೇಶ್ ತಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಚಾಕ್ಯರ್ ರಾಜನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಗುರು ಶ್ರೀ ಕೆ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಸುಂದರಂ ಅವರ ಬಳಿ ನೃತ್ಯಾಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಾಮರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾನೂನು ವಿಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಪದವಿ, ಕೊರಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಪ್ಲೊಮೊ, ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು PhD ಪದವಿಗಳ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೇಶ ವಿದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿರಂತರ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನಗಳನ್ನು ನೀಡುತ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಲವು ನೃತ್ಯ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಪಠ್ಯ ರಚಿಸಿರುವುದಲ್ಲದೆ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಕರಾಗಿಯೂ ಸೇವೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮೆಟಾಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ನಾಟ್ಯ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಹಲವು ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲೇಖನಗಳನ್ನು ಪ್ರಕಟಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಂಕಣಗಳನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೌದ್ಧಿಕವಾಗಿ ಚಿಂತಿಸುವ ಪದ್ಮಜ ಅವರು ತಂತ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ನಾಟ್ಯ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಕೃತಿಯೊಂದನ್ನು ರಚಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾಟ್ಯ ತಂತ್ರ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಟೆಲಿ ಧಾರಾವಾಹಿಯನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಮಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ತಮ್ಮ ಆತ್ಮಾಲಯ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಆಸಕ್ತ ಯುವಜನರಿಗೆ ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಸಂಗೀತ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನೀಡುತ್ತಿರುವುದಲ್ಲದೆ ಅದರ ಅಂಗಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಾದ ಕಲಾ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವಕಾಶ ವಂಚಿತರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಕಲೆಗಳನ್ನು ಪರಿಚಯಿಸುವಲ್ಲಿ ಗಂಭೀರವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯೋನ್ಮುಖರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ICCRನಿಂದ ನಿಯೋಜನೆಗೊಂಡು ಸುಮಾರು 25 ದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೃತ್ಯ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನಗಳನ್ನು ನೀಡಿರುವುದಲ್ಲದೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಗಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಸೋದಾಹರಣ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಗಳನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕರ್ಮವೀರ ಚಕ್ರ, ರೆಕ್ಸ್ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಫೆಲೋ, ಭರತಕಲಾ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ, ನರ್ತನ ನಿಪುಣ, ಸಿಂಗಾರಮಣಿ, ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ವಿಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್, ಸುಬ್ಬರಾಮಯ್ಯ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್, ಅಜಂತಾ ವಿಶ್ವಕಲಾರತ್ನ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಮುಂತಾಗಿ ಪುರಸ್ಕೃತರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪದ್ಮಜಾ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಅವರೊಂದಿಗಿನ ವಿಚಾರ ವಿನಿಮಯದ ಇಂದಿನ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಗೆ ಕಲಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಬರಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದೆ ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ.
ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. As said in Viveka Chudamani, it is very rare to have a human form and even more rare to have a Brahminhood and a male form. More rare to that is a person who is oriented towards the scriptures, who is moving towards the path of self-realization, and even more to be in that state of Ananda. Such is the rare of a human Janma which can achieve something. It is even more rare to have a person who is oriented like this and is able to blend and bring it in the performing arts. With warmth, affection, love, respect and honor, today we welcome Dr. Padmaja Venkatesh Suresh to our event Varnam, Hues from various Shaastras as part of Laya Laasya Lahari'20-21 online series. We welcome you, ma'am.
Satguruve Namaha. Thank you so much, Veena ji, for this wonderful introduction.
You are always synonymous with your thesis, which is Yantra, Tantra and Mantra. You have been given various lecture demonstrations and workshops, talks. We have heard so much about your path of the way you have been initiated to this form. When I look at it, it is a philosophical, spiritual path, taking Yantra, Tantra, Mantra as a life giving path. It paves a path like that. And on the other side, our Bharatanatyam Margam is also a path. Do you see a similarity in these two paths? Do you see a culmination? And if you see, what is it that is so similar and how is it that it gets integrated?
So I was fortunate that I was brought up in a household where there's a lot of these spiritual disciplines. My father was an exponent of charcha. And then I was fortunate to start learning at a very tender age from Kalamandalam Rajalakshmi teacher, and then move on to Kalyan Sundara master of the Rajarajeshwari, Tanjavur Bani. And after several years of dancing as one of the mainstream artists, I think there was a turn which I felt that I now need to go inwards and try to understand what is it that connects oneself to the dance, the dancer to the audience, the musicians to the dancer. What is that magical circle within which we're all vibrating the same force which the deities are ringing all the time above the earthly realm. So that is when this topic of Tantra, which has generally not been touched upon by the researchers inside a typical modern university as a discipline with another subject like dance and music came up. And I was lucky that I could go for texts like the Tirumandiram of Tirumular, Shaiva Shatandik text, and Tantraloka of Abhinavagupta, and that my guide support from Mysore University touched somewhere where I felt I was at the tip of an iceberg. I still have that feeling. Now, coming to the relevant point of Margam, you're right when you say that you are actually going into a centrifugal force. Now, when you're a very good dancer, so you will definitely admit that there is this sound to which we are all the time connected with, to which every living entity is connected. So when we are taking the audience on this wave of empathy, we are focusing on that internalized sound within us. That in Tantra is called the Spanda. We've all emanated from that divine sound of the divine couple Shiva Shakti. And every moment when we even have this japa through our ajapa, soham, so there is this sound to which we are touching upon. Now, when the audience connects to that sound through a performance which has taken him to that subtlest point through the signs of the vibhava, anubhava, vyabhichari bhava, sattvika abhinaya, the sthai bhava, connecting, realizing that force in you, you come to that totally blissful experience of being one with that Spanda Matrika. And that is called the Maya Sahita Brahman experience within you. Now that rasa, as per the Tantra of Abhinava Bharati, or as per the great scholars, is that experience in transcendence. Now the transcendence also is come to you through the layers of the physical, the emotional, the imaginative, the cathartic, and then the transcendence level. So to get to that point of transcendence, how do you come from that external layer after layer to that internal, which is what is given in the Margam. So there is this inconspicuous mystical diagram into which you enter with an opening number like an Alaripu or a Mela Prapti or even a Kavatvam, the invocatory dances. From after the earth layer, you are going into the, from that grossest till you come to the water, and then you come to the fire, and then after that to the Vayu, the wind, and then to the space, the mind, the consciousness. So there is this ascent from the grossest to the subtlest layer. So from each item,
Thula to Sukshma.
yes, Thula to Sukshma. Shabdam, the first heard sound. So initially the bija syllables you are taking, like tadi or tam, titam, kadadai, tate, all of them, no meaning at all, pure light energy. Okay? So from that sound to a syllable. And then from a syllable you come to a swara passage. And then you come to a shabdam, a word which becomes a sentence, a poem, a song, a story, a world, a pada artha, the padartha.
So beautiful.
Makes the whole objectified universe. Starting from that subject, you're trying to reach now back to the subject. So we've all evolved from that supreme subject, that sound, which is only sound. We have become the world, we have become entities in form, and we are going back to that blissful, formless sound, which we are in essence. So this Margam is a powerful way discovered by our sages, which was called in different names, which had a big ritual offered inside the temple, And over the period of time, it got structured in this manner that after I came up to Shabdam, and then you go to the central piece, which is where you have focused today, the Varnam. The Varna, the single syllable itself is called Varnam. The colors are also called Varnam. You say with the plain white color, and then the next is the red. If you look at a vibgyor, okay, from the white, which is transcendence, the first creative spark, which is red, and then the red becomes so many colors. So this beautiful evolution and dissolution back to the white is also the genius of a musical composition in the Varna. So how these generally the 9 breaks that you have, the central force of the Chittaswaram, or then going right to the Muktaya, and how you are coming to the central most point, and even the choreography composition makes you connect to that central force. And then from that subtlest, you're again coming back to the grossest. And then after Varnam, how do you go to the central piece, the central deity in the sanctum is the hero of your Varnam, always. That's how it was intended to be presented. And then the ancillary deities. And then you have a circumambulation. The dancers used to have a Kumbha Arati with that kind of a movement. So this has been designed, the yantra, the body. The yantra in the microcosm, the yantra in the macrocosm. The temple design is also a yantra. The mantra is the syllables of dance. The mantra is a song that have come from these syllables. The tantra is the science by which you are trained to execute this sadhana. The science which is taught you because of the greatest sage, Bharata Muni, the Adi Guru, is how you are supposed to move right from your eyebrows to every cell in you. How is it you're convincing someone who has not even imagined or seen or heard Krishna or Rama or Yashoda, right in front of his eyes has got the consciousness of that formless entity, the deity has landed in front of his eyes. So this is such a powerful yaga. You're going to a temple, the yantra is over there and you're worshipping. Here you yourself have become the prana pratishta has gone into you. You've become the deity. So you are going to, with that tantra, that magic that you're weaving out of you, white magic, mind you, out of your body, the angika and the vachika which goes with you, with the musicians. The ahari, we're all into eka ahari. The sattvika, your contemplated mind, because of which you get yourself energized with that deity, you transmit. So the beauty of Tantra is, as you rightly said in the initial introduction, you do not discard as mithya and maya. You know, Veda Anta, Siddha Anta, in the end that everything is maya, agreed. Yet you play with these forces of the world. And that is the Ananda Marg. Not the yogic marg where you say, you sit in one place. No, you are all the time watching yourself doing. Shiva is watching Shakti in dance.
That is raso vaisaha. You know,
Raso
you have all the rasas coming in from you and transmitting.
Exactly.
And all the audience and you are able to be at that.
Exactly.
That is the Paramatma.
That is the joy that even how much ever we go into research, to teach or whatever, I am sure the first choice that all of us will have is to dance.
Yeah, and reach that blissful stage. Very true, very true. So beautifully said, where yantra, tantra, mantra and the way it is drawn parallel to the way the body itself is what you have to take as, you know, and you do a prana pratisthapana from your own self and you invoke the rasa as the deity front of you and take it ahead. So beautifully said, so beautifully said. So as we proceed, that Varnam stands as a central pillar, and you know, and he's a deity, and the entire force is focused there. So there is niyama when you look at the way the acharana happens, even in the temple. All of us know it is a temple art, and there are rules and regulations for it. So it is very well defined when we see at how a Sandhya Vandana has to happen or how a Devi Chandi Homa should happen. So everything is written. So when you draw parallel between that and the Margam, what happens to our choreography? What happens to the Varnam itself? How should we have those rules and regulations? Are there very strict rules that this is the way that it has to be done? Does the choreography have its framework?
I think we're all lucky that we've had great masters down the line. That's why, despite so many other problems that the whole dance form has gone through, we can still talk of some purity that has been maintained over the years. So when you have a Kula, you have a Bani, you have been told by your gurus that this is how we have to handle it. So the way you approach Varnam is, you know, the Trikala Jati that has been the first, that itself, the Trikala Jati. You are supposed to maintain in all the three kalas the similar choreography. What you're doing for ta, ritta, ritta, kinam, rit, ta, kitta, takka, ta, rikitta, rakka, ta, rikitta, rakka, da, ta, jham, kadagada, dit, ta, bhim, kitta, takka, ta, rikitta, rakka, da, rikitta, rakka, da, ta, jham, kadagada, tom, bhim, kitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, ta, jham, kadagada, dit, tom, bhim, kitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, ta, jham, jham, dit, tom, bhim, kitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, ta, jham, dit, tom, bhim, kitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, ta, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, tatak, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, gana, chanata, jenu, jenata, demi, demita, takka, ta, rikitta, dom, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, tatak, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, tatak, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, gana, ranata, jenu, jenata, demi, demita, takka, ta, rikitta, dom, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, tatak, dit, tangada, takka, ta, rikitta, takka, jham, tatak, ta, rikitta, takka, ta, gana, ranata, jenu, jenuta, demi, demita, takka, ta, rikitta, dom, ta, gana, ranata, demi, demita, demi, demita, takka, ta, rikitta, dom, ta, gana, ranata, jenu, jenuta, demi, demita, takka, ta, rikitta, dom. why it has been given that particular tag of a Trikala Jati. Why are you starting? It's just the cycle is starting over there. And what are the Muktaya Aduvas that have been taught? There is no substitute for a Muktaya Aduva. Follow it in the choreography or the 1, 2, 3 descending order or 3, 2, 1 or 2, 2, 2. However you
There
do
is
it.
yati for however you can do
Yeah,
it.
so those are certain things that even over the years when you take up new Varnams as your own pieces, it is good to follow that because that has been given with a good convention in mind. So many hundreds of years have passed. So I would personally recommend to respect, not have a 2-kilometer jati and then you forget what is the first sahityam and the second sahityam. The correlation for the audience also knows. Now the advantage in a Varnam is it is the same, the sound emanating, becoming a story, coming back to sound in the jati. Unlike when you're doing a pure Abhinaya piece, right? Now here again, the reason they do it is when you're doing a Sambodhana gesture, we do on the right. Samyeke sari yavare na. The Natya Dharmi has to be followed. You are doing that. You cannot approach it the way you would approach a Javli, where probably your shoulder level will be lower, or you may use more Lokadharmi, colloquial way of. So that also, as a teacher, I have been trying to maintain that in the Sanchari also. Don't go to such a level that for you to return to come back to the next Nritta which is awaiting you should not be difficult. So those parameters, if you follow, Varnam is balanced. It's supposed to be very well balanced. How much can you take in the first Sahityam? Second, generally it is about, first one is about the merits of the deity. The second one also, like even if you take Papanasham Shivam Varnam, which also many people have done, not just the quartet Varnam, this the one I told now, Sankarabharnam Varnam is supposed to be my, suppose there was a discussion whether it is quartet or whether it is our Kalyan Sundara Misa's grandfather Panchapikeshan Natwanaar Sars or his father Ramanathan, somebody from their clan who had composed. Now they have definitely had a thing in mind where the first has to be about the deity, the second one the devotee talking about several feats that has happened. Third one comes now, from there on she starts focusing about herself. Why is it that you turn around and you're not even looking at me? And then they even come to a like, are you so hard-hearted?
Why can't you bless me when you have done it for Draupadi and when you have done it for...
So, the thing is that when you are talking to the deity as your hero, there is no need to feel that you are different in the sense. Talking to a hero who is a common hero, you won't go to the extent of doing what you do on a dance. But the deity, you can do so much. So that is why when it was a Shringara piece, Varnam is basically the Shringaram. Why is Shringara the highlight? It is only through Shringara that one can surrender totally the form and the identity. Now the whole thing works on the principle of Laya Yoga. What is Laya Yoga? Laya is the principle of dissolution, again from the gross to the Sthula to the Sukshma. The complete sense of egoistic behavior or egoistic I goes off, they say, only in
When you surrender
Shringara.
totally.
So that, and to get into a female character, the Nayika, the composers being men, imagined themselves as women. Why? Because it is easier to become Shakti than become Shiva directly. We are all Shaktis. Men are also Shaktis.
The manifestation is...
So Shiva also says, points to his left leg. So when you take her form, you ask her to become one with you first. So the first point of Laya becomes that the composer has given up this individual identity and become the female form, become Shakti. And that heroine. So if Shakti is going to call Shiva, he is going to come to you.
Sure.
All our puja methods or whatever the worship they say, don't try to become Shiva. And don't think, because if you try to become Shiva, you're going to think Shakti is going to dance to your tunes. Only he has got that authority. So you try to become Shakti. That is possible through any of your.
Yeah, and at the end of it, you want his grace. So how is it that you can
She
get
opens the doorways for you. That you should leave it to her. So even here it is that. It's the process. The Laya Yoga here, that only Shankara can take you there. So hence, even if those temple dancers did certain things where today in our common parlance, oh my God, it was not like that. It was never a taboo. First of all, the whole scenario was the temple, the sublime atmosphere. And there were people who were steeped in dance, morning to night, only thinking, doing that. Singers, composers, they knew everything about it. They knew the Shaastras.
And you had that level of people who could understand and correlate to things, and every day was a new choreography. It was a naivedya. Like how we
because
prepare.
the rasa was to be evoked in the deity. It was not for the people around. People around are just getting the prasadam side by side. So how over the years we have changed, we have evolved. So here too, our gurus have said that maintain all the decorum possible. What could have been done then may not be always aesthetic today. You're also wearing a different type of a costume, where a little more of your contours are enhanced. We are not like those days when people were very, very fit for dance.
True. They did only that.
Yes.
Or that was the only expected out of the Devadasis or of the Upasakas who were doing that.
So keeping certain traditions and roots as our base, if you're fortunate to have had a kula or a gotra on your, or a seal through you, maintain that for sure. And then you can see in what way this audience, like how much sanchari I do, what jati I do. Unnecessarily trying to play with them doesn't make sense. Just to evoke that kind of glamour. Varnam is not designed for it at all. It is going to take you on a spiritual journey, at the same time catering to all the worldly bhavas. So obviously Shringara gives the maximum scope for it. It is the Rasaraja. So with that in mind, the ultimate that is reached and the end, we don't show that there is a culmination of the becoming one. Never. It's always left to the. So that much you should leave. Our rasa is always suggested, isn't it? So the rasika looks at it, yes, to
You
such
should
an extent.
want more.
Yes, because the last is, if you see the old Varnams and the Sahitya and the end and all, they used to be so much of Shringara in it. And they always spoke about the moon, the full moon. So how the soma, how that nectar flows through you. Again, it is a very spiritual concept. How you're going to get to that high. So the people also, you should try your best to take them to the one beyond this typical. That's where they've come despite all this. Today also you get the people who are going to sit and watch you. So that Varnam composition, respect those and then present you.
As it is Drishya Kavya, it is so beautiful that we get into the Kavya, we get into the imaginative world and hence transform and transcend the audience with oneself as well. Ya kundendu tusharahara davala, ya shubhra vastravita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padmasana. These are the kind of description that keeps going on Devi when you look at our scriptures or when you look at our shlokas. And when many hands are put to our Varnas in the Varnam composition, you see various Padapadartha, Vakyartha, Bhavartha coming. So the traditional choreographies of Kalakshetra that I have been initiated, it looks and feels like we are talking of Sahasanama. We are talking about various aspects and facets of the Lord Shiva himself or the Devi whom we are praying towards. So my question will be, ma'am, is it a closed book in a Varnam composition that this is how it has to be, because they are pioneers, they are great rishis who have given us, this is the path, this is the way it is. So it is their aradhana that we are doing in various forms and going. How relevant is it for today's presentation, and what can we as this generation do contribute for the Varnam?
So keeping, as you said, the pioneers in mind, whatever we have learnt from our direct teachers, like the Ganga is pure up there, but what is flowing next door to you through a tap is what you can access. So keeping in mind that this also has to be pure, if not the Ganges itself, if it is given to you as a tirtham, you have the responsibility of carrying it in the same way. Just because you get a baton in hand and you're starting your own tutelage, your teaching, doesn't give you the license to play with these pure choreographies, because over the years there is divinity everywhere, agreed. We are all essentially divine. But over the years, the intention of mankind itself has changed. So many changes have happened that the intentions of all of us today, when we go up for a public performance, is far different from the intentions of the temple dancers. Agreed. So what is it that we are going to give to the people? We have to speak in a vocabulary which is understood well by everyone. Even the students today are far more different from what we were. Now, for example, I told my own student the other day, just giving you a jocular tone, that I am going to give you all two toys. One is made of wood and the other is made of gold. The wooden one is Rama, the golden one is Ravana. What are you going to select? And the student tells me, ma'am, obviously the golden Ravana. I can melt and make a Rama out of it. But what will I do with this? Now, this kind of intelligence did we have then? What would have we thought of? Oh, whatever it is, Ravana is evil. You cannot touch it. So today what we have to tell the children is, I'm not saying that you don't touch the gold at all. The gold is necessary for your way of this today's world. You have to be smart. Agreed? But who is Rama? From where did this entire story come up? What is the position of Rama? That have you understood? Yes, ma'am. If you become Rama, what is the power that you get endowed with? What did Rama do? Go back to that story. What did Rama do? He destroyed Ravana. All that was Ravana's could have become Rama's, but yet he didn't touch it. Because what was his intention to show the world? So here you are learning an art form that is going to make you Rama. You are going to get that divinity pouring out through you. So you should have the faith that if you take the wooden Rama toy, you will shoot one arrow and that golden Ravana can be on your foot. So that will also be yours. So teach them to choose grace. So the glamour also comes to them, whether they want it or not. The same thing in the dance forms. If the dancer's intention, if the choreographer's intention is grace, all the beauty, all the worldly will come in place. But if the intention is just to create a thrill, a fancy, a headline, then neither are you on that path, nor is the audience going to have even the smallest taste of the sublime. It is going to be only on the superficial level, which Bharatanatyam need not offer. Margam need not offer at all. It is called a divine art. It has descended from the Shaivagamas. It is a tantra because the Vedas was not open to all people, but it is as much Vedic. What makes it tantra is also the Ardhanarishwara form, the Shiva Shakti, the Varnam. Every time you do a jati, you're talking about Shiva, the dissolution into that sound, the fastest, the freeze in between the fast. That is when you catch the magic of that silence. And that is what the dissolution of the dance takes you to. You cannot dance beyond 3 speeds. Can you dance beyond, even if the Natuna recites, can he recite beyond that speed? So there is a limitation to the human articulation. But the moment you take a freeze, it takes it to that limitless, which is that frequency which you cannot even catch through your human ear. But that's what those karanas, those sculpturous poses in between your fast jati stands for. So from that level of Shiva consciousness, and then you come back to your story and say, I am this human form. I want to come and take me to you, please. I'm tasting for that, my dear Lord. Can I not become so close to you? Can I not come there? So that Varnam performed in the Sanctum Sanctorum. That is how it was, the Margam was designed also. You're going to the Garbhagriha, you're going closer and closer, and that story comes up. Then you come to a jati. So the old format, or whatever we have passed on by those great seers, we should not touch them and make it for our fancy. But there is no barricade that you cannot take up. We have got great composers who have been great upasakas, Lalguri Jayaraman sir or Balamurali Krishna sir, Papanasham Shivam sir also, who's Varnam sir, really wonderful. But just because you want to bring in some script inside a Varnam, you have to be careful of how much you can, it cannot, the speed in which it is taken. There were not so many words in the first line or a Pallavi. The second line, how it was. And then how after you reach a Chittaswaram, how it goes faster and faster. As I said, you're descending, ascent, and then descend, it becomes faster. The swaras are also made in that manner. So if you're going to use any other script into a Varnam, yourself, you have to be having a very good idea of it. As per the Sabha may require that. So recently I could also perform on the Sri Chakra Yantra, the Tantra Mantra Yantra of Sri Chakra and the Bindu, for which I took the Varnam of Lalgudi Jayaraman sir. And the first jati, I tried to use the Sanskrit alphabet of Shiva Shakti. Like I'll just recite and show you. A, I, O, U, Shi, Va, Shak, Ti, Gin, Na, Tom, R, Shiva Shakti, Gin, Na, Tom, O, Au, Aha, Shiva Shakti, Gin, Na, Tom. So something like this was taken up. Because I had to show the Akshara Brahman, from Nada Brahman to the Shabda Brahman. That was the concept of the whole thing. And there was a Nada Bindu Kala, Ta Dingena Tumta, Nada Bindu Kala. So something with the formation of that. So one jati like that. But I felt this particular Varnam made sense because the Sri Chakra has the Navarasas also in it. So Lalgudi sir's Varnam is also on the Navarasas. And he speaks of Sarvanandamaya Chakra also in the last sequence. So it gave good scope. If I had taken Tare Tare Takina Takanaka Jam Jam, so it would have also had its, it is all the time our old jatis are very well fashioned for any of the new. Vice versa is not true.
Yes.
I would not like to put something like this into Rupama Juchu or Mohamana Varnam
I
or
think it's
Dari.
aesthetics of how you bring various aspects together and give it together.
Yes, the Todi Varnam, which we was very famous from our school. So we would not try to play or a kautum which has to be recited in that way. Just because I want to make a kautum, I cannot put any jati from a varnam and put it. It had a formation. It was a ritualistic dance, isn't it? So their syllables are also different.
So beautifully said. It has a frame, and within the frame you got to explore your scope. Correct. How you said. So as we see, every time there's a dissolution, there is a creation that is happening. So it is in a margam when you look at once the akshara, then the word swara jati itself is swara from where you start. Then you come to the shabdam which makes it, and then we go to the varna which gives us the hues of various shastras.
Absolutely.
And from various aspects we've been collecting what Varnam can give us, and today it has been beautiful to be getting an insight of yantra, tantra, mantra, and to get into the margam itself to experience what Varnam is. To conclude with you, ma'am, with this creation and dissolution, when I look at a margam also, so would you agree with saying that even the margam is created and by tilana we got to dissolute?
Yes.
When each one is happening at a different level or a different chakra, as you mentioned, where do you place this Varnam?
So Varnam itself, if you look at it, as I said, the composition itself gives you the scope to go to that level, the subtlest, and come back to the grossest. So Varnam stands as a central piece because by itself it is this model of going into a yantra where you have the scope to become one with the Paramatman, the scope to yearn to become one, and then get back and stay put to that. The larger, Varnam itself is like the sanctum.
The sanctum.
Yeah, so that itself is all inclusive. So doing a margam or even performances without a Varnam is actually
Without the mula.
It doesn't make sense at all. Or putting your students on stage without teaching them a Varnam. The purpose of the dance itself is to get to know a Varnam, and this requires so much of expertise to be able to do a Varnam. So directly going into a tilana because there is no time also doesn't make sense. So go padi by padi, one after the other. The whole margam itself is designed for taking us on that level and coming back to the mola or your grossest level. So this, as you said, the Mula Sthanam, this descent and ascent, there is the para goes from the Mula, comes to the Vaikari level. The same from the subtlest, it has come down to the Mula and settled. So this, it is happening all the time within us, it is happening through the Varnam, it is happening on the larger our margam, it is happening in the theatre because our theatre itself is designed to be a micro model of the cosmos. So this is the wonderful, the beauty, the magic that we can create through our dance forms. So let it be our objective that we do not dilute. We neither have the proprietary right over any of these things. We are just surviving because something has trickled down the edge. So that humility, with that let us continue offering, leading our students to the right path and pray every now and then to the Mahashakti to keep us on guard, to make us understand, awareness that this, no, what, let it come and we have to listen to those
Sukshma.
because the gurus also, none of us are going to physically last long, but our words are important. So our children also, getting 100 students is no big deal. You get one or two, you get 3 or 4 who are going to follow your tradition and get that, that the essence of it, and then continue that way. This is a para vidya. Tanmukti sadhakam, you are getting that you're going to go to the highest level, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But moksha, intention is important, no? So, artha vidya anta hagidre, instead of being a rakshasa, you may become a rakshasa.
So beautifully said. As it is said, from the macro to the micro to the macro, we keep going. Every moment it's getting created and destroyed. Purna madam, purna midam, purna. Everything is complete in itself. With that note, Varnam, Hues from various Shaastras, from Dr. Padmaja Suresh was beautifully executed. And I thank her from the bottom of my heart for extending all her knowledge so beautifully. Dare eritare alva. So that is what she generously shared her knowledge with us. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Venkatesh.
ಗಳಿಸಿದ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹಂಚಿದರೆ ಮತ್ತೂ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನುತ್ತಾರೆ ಅನುಭಾವಿಗಳು. ಈ ಹಂಚುವಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಹಲವು ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳು. ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನದ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ಕಲಿಸುವ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ದಾಖಲಿಸುವ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ಹೀಗೆ ಈ ಮೂರೂ ವಿಭಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ಗಳಿಸಿದ ಪಾಂಡಿತ್ಯಪೂರ್ಣ ವಿದ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕೆ ಹಂಚುತ್ತಿರುವಂತಹ ಸಾಧಕಿ ವಿದುಷಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪದ್ಮಜಾ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಅವರು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ತಾವು ಗಳಿಸಿದ ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರತಿಭೆಯಿಂದ ದುಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡ ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಸಾರಸತ್ವವನ್ನು ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕೆ ಹಂಚುವ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಮಾರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕಲಾ ಸಂಪದ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಬಹಳ ಗೌರವವಾಗಿ ವಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.